Hey, Foot Clan, Lowe's is my new go-to destination for discovering the newest Craftsman products, including mechanics, tool sets, storage, and more in-store and online, like the 120-tooth ratchet.
Oh!
It has a 3-degree arc swing that lets you loosen or tighten bolts with less movement in those hard-to-reach spots. Plus, it comes in a gunmetal chrome finish that's not only sharp-looking, it makes them corrosion-resistant. That's pretty cool. Shop the new home of Craftsman today at Lowes.com/footballers. That's Lowes.com/footballers.
Hey, it's Ronald Jones II, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Oh, Ronald.
Oh, that was your intro right there. Was as good as Ronald Jones' preseason play.
Oh, you mean the delay?
He's bagging you.
I had to do the Ronald Jones intro.
Because it's the last time.
Because it's just so timely. Ronald Jones, have yourself a preseason, my friend. I was on the Twitter sharing my disgust with Ronald Jones II's preseason. He would like a second preseason, by the way. Not a first, but a second.
To be fair, I cannot imagine that Ronald Jones is pleased with the way that things are going either.
No, but I was on Twitter and I was sharing my disgust for Ronald Jones preseason, and I said it's equivalent to basically, I feel like he is trying to get an achievement, like an unlock. Like, can you get 22 yards with 28 carries? Achievement unlock. Complete.
So you're thinking once he achieves that accomplishment, he's going to be like, okay, now I can actually take the yards.
New achievement. Yeah, he's moving on to the next one, which is across the line of scrimmage three times in a row.
That's one of those achievements that you're just padding your gamer score with.
That's what he's doing.
Thank goodness there's a reason. Because here's what I thought. I thought the guy I watched in college was who the Tampa Bay Buccaneers drafted, a tiny guy trying to run through the tackles that's not going to translate in the NFL. Whew! Glad I was wrong on that one.
Was that a preseason victory lap by Jason Moore?
It was.
He's got to take his victory laps now.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, we've said from the beginning, Ronald Jones will be much better the second half of this season than the first half, so I can't take a victory lap.
Well, the guy I watched in college averaged like 6 a carry, had 19 touchdowns, 1,500-plus yards. You must have been watching this preseason version.
No, I'm talking about when he runs between – they got him in space. I said – always. He's electric in space, and when you got him there, he would juke guys. And
he averages 37 yards per reception.
But when – yes, in preseason, that's true.
Because he dropped all the other ones, and he caught one for 37 yards.
But the reality is when they ran him, NFL style between the tackles, even in college, I never saw him get it done because of his smaller size. I didn't think his skill set would translate unless – he gets in space and is with a creative team. I don't think the Buccaneers are a very creative offense with Dirk Cutter.
That's actually a good point. So next year when Dirk Cutter is gone, depending on who they bring in as coach, Jason, you're going to be more interested in Ronald Jones?
See, this was all supposed to be tongue-in-cheek. He didn't actually unlock an achievement on his Xbox by doing this, nor am I willing to make a conclusion about Ronald Jones due to a few preseason games where the head coach and the offensive staff has come out and said that the offensive line has been a disaster for him and that he hasn't made extra on his own. So it's been bad.
Yes,
but
certainly.
He's going to get his shot.
And we should not overreact to preseason, but it is the same offensive line that is for some reason making the other running back look just fine.
Well, no, that's not true because it was preseason week 4, so it's not the same offensive line.
Well, I'm including all the other weeks as well into Ronald Jones.
He didn't get very much play with the starters.
Yeah. All right, today we have Super Bowl predictions on the show. We have some mailbag. We got some best ball bonanza. We're going to have a lot of fun ahead of week 1. Jason is back in the building. No more Jay Grizz.
Hooray!
Same furry level.
I fought the bear and I won.
All right, we're going to Well, I'll remind people. They can follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. They can find us on the web, thefantasyfootballers.com. I'll remind people that the DFS podcast
Thank you.
is out.
Get
today.
hyped, people.
Today.
The Fantasy Footballers DFS podcast. It is back. It is hosted by myself. I am joined by the lovely, the beautiful Ben Cummins and Chris Meany.
Thought you were going to say like Vanna White or something.
Vanna White?
I don't know. It just sounded like the introduction.
You go to Vanna White?
That's what, like, maybe my dad would go to. You remember Vanna White? All those letters.
Big wheel fan over there, apparently. You're a wheel watcher.
Look, a wheel watcher?
Is that what they call him?
I cannot confirm or
Sounds
deny.
like a whale watcher.
That would be exposing myself as a wheel watcher. I freaking love that show. It's so good.
When you hit a certain age, all your references take place from a certain date and before.
Vanna White?
I'm sorry.
Like, it's whatever. Okay, but the DFS podcast, it's live. We talked about some lessons learned, what's going on over on the platforms when you're playing DFS. Subscribe today. You can find us wherever podcasts
once a week
are available. It is a once a week. It comes out every single Friday. And this show is all about DFS for the rest of us because it's tough, man. If you've never played on FanDuel or DraftKings before, it can be very intimidating, and we try to remove those barriers, make it fun, help you build up your bankroll, and just enhance the experience of the fantasy season. So check it out.
Yeah, last year was the first year. It was
smashing success.
Wonderful. Just spectacular. All right. Let's get into the Super Bowl predictions. We do this every year. We've alluded to various teams in the offseason, but let's make some official Super Bowl predictions ahead of Week 1 in the NFL. So, Jason.
Yo. You want my prediction? I've been toiling with this for quite a while. I've changed teams a couple times. I've thought about some dark horses. But I'm going to – then what happened was when I looked a little bit deeper, I realized who it's going to be.
Oh, so you figured it out.
I figured it out, and I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings with their shiny new quarterback, Kirk Cousins, getting in
so shiny
to the Super Bowl against the defense with the easiest path imaginable, the Jacksonville Jaguars. But the quarterback of the Jaguars cannot compete because he's setting his phasers to kill at the Super Bowl, and Captain Kirk brings home a Lombardi trophy to Minnesota.
Very, very nice.
So Minnesota, Jacksonville.
That's correct. That's another way of saying it.
Okay.
I will jump in here because my pick is actually very similar. I do have Jacksonville there as well, but instead of the Vikings, I reluctantly, Minnesota fans, I'm so very sorry, your division rival, the Green Bay Packers, will be taking on the Jaguars. Watching preseason, the Packers are giving me those Saints defensive vibes from last year where I went, wait a minute. I think this defense is actually going to be good. Throw that with an offense you know will be good. That's a recipe for success in the NFL. When both sides of the ball are good, that's how you win games.
They even have a more shiny quarterback.
And they do. And he is very –
he's a wealthy man.
He is very shiny, surrounded in gold bullion. But Green Bay versus Jacksonville, and I'm taking the Packers. I'm getting Aaron Rodgers another Super Bowl victory this year. Me personally.
You're going to take care of it.
I am responsible.
All right. I struggled as well with deciding on this one. Early in the offseason, I thought I'd have the Chargers there. That was the dark horse pick. I didn't go with them. I actually went with the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the New Orleans Saints. I think the Steelers' defense will begin to gel and be worthy of a deep playoff run. And I think they get there, and I think the Saints bring it home.
Whoa.
Drew Brees gets to celebrate his second Super Bowl victory. So Saints, Vikings, Packers. That's what we have here on the show. We've officially offended 31 different fan bases with our picks.
Yeah, I was my big toil was between the Jaguars and the Steelers. I think it's a 2-horse race in the AFC. You could say a 3-horse race. Definitely the Patriots are.
Yes, the Patriots will be involved.
Yeah, of course.
Yes,
of course.
so.
It's not a 2-horse
But
race.
it's very different than the NFC. In the NFC, I feel like you could pick 10
There's a
different
lot of
teams,
teams, yes.
to make a run. Whereas outside of the Patriots, the Steelers, and the Jaguars, who are you?
Oh, I have a handful of other teams I would happily consider.
Yeah,
The
I still like the Chargers a lot.
The Broncos, even the Chiefs. I would consider
not the
Houston. Could have a season if Deshaun Watson stays healthy and their defense gets J.J. Watt and Merciless and everybody participates and contributes. I think those are some other teams that can be there.
Fair enough.
We have a little bit of an announcement. We mentioned it on the Footcast, our exclusive Foot Clan only bonus episode at jointhefoot.com. We mentioned it yesterday. Now, we've done what show is this?
597.
597.
That means we're coming up on the big 600.
The big
Now, we've
600.
done almost 600 shows. And yesterday we had the Footcast, and there was an audible grunt from the producers area. And that's never happened before. And you want to know why? We've got an intern in the building. Baby Josh.
Oh, Baby Josh.
Baby Josh is here. Baby Josh. Shadowing Brooks, the producer. And so we have a new what do you call
new scapegoat?
That's what I'm looking for.
Look, the usual scapegoat comes in and goes, guys, it's called a scapegoat. You got a new one.
I was going to say, we have a new one. Brooks has his first.
Yes.
So Baby Josh is with us for this season. And how's it going, Brooks? How's Baby Josh, other than the audible grunts, the unprofessionalism, what else is he doing okay?
He's doing okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep
Just
him humble.
remember, Brooks, whenever we say that you have done something wrong and there is a mistake, you chime in and you drive that bus right over Baby Josh. You back it
Just
up, you
drive
pull
it
it
over.
forward, and you just toss him out as tribute.
Now, Jason, you weren't on the Footcast yesterday, but we set up a very important precedent. And as far as I'm concerned, Baby Josh was born yesterday. Wow. That's his knowledge of the world.
He's 1 day old.
He's basically 1 day old. We were making Nickelodeon references. He didn't even understand what we were talking about. He never knew that TVs were square-shaped. There are a lot of things that we need to introduce him to. But fortunately,
I feel a little bad making fun of a 1 day old.
I don't.
I'm still going to do it. I'm just saying it doesn't feel the same.
Because he grunted and made a sound from the producer's booth.
Man.
So, just letting the people know, Baby Josh, you're on blast for, 6 months.
News and notes from around the league.
He's trying not to laugh right now so that we have to escort him out.
Yeah,
he
you better not make a sound.
It could be over. And people should be happy to know that we had him build chairs as his first task. He just built chairs.
You earned your keep.
The
Very
Patriots.
impressive for a 1 day old.
The Patriots and Rob Gronkowski have agreed to terms on a revised contract. I like these kind of contracts where he can make more money by doing more things statistically on the field. He can make an extra, $4.3 million in incentives, so he's up to like a $13.3 million max. That's good.
Yes.
Yes.
Mike's excited because he traded for Gronk yesterday.
I've told the Foot Clan exactly what I'm doing, and that is I'm getting Gronk everywhere that I possibly can where it makes sense.
At least he doesn't have a robust injury history that could leave you in a collapsed, sad state.
Across all platforms.
Yeah, no matter where you are.
We have him in Scott Fish.
Cool.
You have him in the League of Records.
Cowards.
You have him in
Who's
Listener League.
that? What's that Disney, the Pixar movie with the inflated,
That's not Pixar, but Baymax, Big Hero 6.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like
we
that-
put some tape on him, and Gronk will be good to go.
Okay. Well, I was picturing you deflating in your soul if he went down. The Bucks have released.
that will not be good.
No, Bucks have released running back Charles Sims with an injury settlement.
Yeah.
We expected this to happen after the injured reserve placement.
Yep.
And Jets wide receiver Jermaine Kearse will miss week 1 after surgery on his abdomen.
Fair
There you
enough.
go.
Now, just real quick back to the Buccaneers situation. He was already gone. Charles Sims was already on the IR. But does this change things at all for how you view Peyton Barber? Is Peyton Barber a 3-down running back now?
I don't think so.
I don't either. I think he will be.
Who's coming in?
I think Jaquiz Rodgers, when you watch preseason, that's the guy that they've been bringing in on third downs. I think he'll have that role. And for all the shade that I throw on Ronald Jones, it's another running back out of the way for him to get opportunities. It's sad, obviously, for Charles Sims. And like you said, we already knew he was injured and going to be out for the season. But it is good news for both Ronald Jones and Peyton Barber to, have fewer competition touches. We'll call it that.
Whoa.
We'll call it incorrect.
Wow.
Yeah, we got
Fewer
there.
competition touches.
Well
done.
By the way, the Bears, I know they've dealt with problems at the tight end position depth-wise. Deion Sims, he's been sidelined 2 weeks now with a concussion. Adam Shaheen, we know he's hurt. So it's all signs point to Trey Boo-Boo taking control of that job and the snaps to start the season. All right, we're going to get into the mailbag. We're going to answer some questions heading into week 1. Next week, we've got week 1 content. We'll get you ready to go. Let's remind them what segments we got coming. We got all the starts of the week. We got streamers. We won't have waivers in week 1, but we'll get you ready for we'll have my upset. I'll bust that out next week.
You're ready.
No, I'm not ready at all. My ups and Jason's boom boom kicker will be part of next week too. I don't know if he's ready for that or not.
I'm always ready. My preparation on kickers is so deep.
You have to write a rhyme
Consistent.
of some kind.
That's true. I'm mostly prepared.
All right, you ready, Mike?
Yeah.
Mailbag.
All right, if you have a question for the Fantasy Footballers podcast, go to the website, fantasyfootballers.com. Click the Submit a Question button or dial a voicemail hotline 302-464-TFFB. The website is also where you can find the Ultimate Draft Kit if you're drafting tonight, tomorrow, this weekend, before next Thursday when the NFL season kicks off. You can get over there, ultimatedraftkit.com. Not too late to get right for your draft.
There's still a lot of people drafting this weekend.
Yes, absolutely. I know this because I see how many people are in the Ultimate Draft Kit on a minute-by-minute basis.
I know this because
hundreds.
my money league is drafting this weekend.
I'm interested to hear your report on how that turns out. I bet you have Gronk at the end of it.
It's just a solid bet.
Possibly. I don't know if he's being kept or not.
I assume he's being kept by someone else, and at the end of this draft, he will be on your roster.
I'm working on it.
All right. Emmanuel13 has a question for us. He says, what are your thoughts on commissioners intervening with trades? Should they have a final say on all the trades or let them go because the two parties have agreed to them? And then he puts in parentheses, not counting obvious collusion.
Here is my official stance. I've said it once, I'll say it again, and then I'll say it again.
Do you need
No, I don't.
from the mountaintops, Mike?
I do declare!
Vetoes are for dweebos. It's ridiculous.
I wish I could take the horn back after that rhyme.
No, it's a great rhyme. It's a great rhyme. How dare you disparage it? But vetoes are the absolute worst. Let people play. You don't know. You do not know if a trade is actually completely lopsided. I've seen so many trades where they come through, whatever's in my hands, I throw it in the air, I start smashing plates, and I go, how could this possibly have happened? Why is this team owner such an idiot? And then 3 weeks later, the egg is all over my face because the team was lopsided for the other person. So you don't know what's going to happen. Let people run their teams how they want to run their teams. You do not need to be involved. If you are mad that a trade went through, that's on you for not being active and going and trying to make a trade with that team.
Yeah, 100%. We've said this many, many times before. In fact, I'll take it to another piece of advice and say remove the trade timer. You know, most leagues it takes 24 or 48 hours for a trade to go through. We removed that. It's one of the best decisions we ever made in the league of record. It is so nice to be able to say, hey, there's, Thursday Night Football is kicking off in 3 hours. I really want to, make a trade for tonight and set myself up, or and be able to pull that off and have the transaction matter, especially when it comes to, waivers take a while to clear, and then Thursday's creeping up. It's so hard to get trades done when you have these ridiculous 24, 48-hour timers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, speaking of the NFL, before we get into a little bit more of the mailbag, Foot Clan got to tell you about the NFL Game Pass. People ask us frequently, hey, footballers, how are you guys seeing all these games? How are you going back? How are you watching the film? And the NFL Game Pass, that is how we do it. We're sitting in the office. You fire up that Game Pass. You go, and they make it real easy. You can check out all the plays from one player. You can get the broadcast version. You get the condensed version. That's the moneymaker right there. After the weekend games are done, they take all the commercials out. They take all the extra time out, and they just give you the condensed version so you can absorb an entire game in about 40 minutes. There's coaches' film. You can get the all 22. You actually get access to the coaches' film and really let you break down how is a player doing. And best of all, you can kick off the 2018 NFL season with a 7-day free trial of the NFL Game Pass. Sign up now at NFL.com/fantasyfootballers. That's NFL.com/fantasyfootballers. Game on.
And Foot Clan, do not forget to enter the epic free $250,000 Survivor contest being put on by FanDuel. The games are here. You can play week 1 right now. You can get into FanDuel and start making your plays. Listen to the Fantasy Footballers DFS show and get in on the action. It will make your season more fun. But the Survivor contest, you got to get your week 1
free.
You got to get your week 1 picks in. It's $250,000 in prizes, and it's free to enter. You can do it anywhere you are, so you have to get in. Here's how it works. You pick one team each week, and then you can't use that team again the rest of the season. And all you got to do is say they're going to win. The Cardinals, week 1 against the Washington Redskins at home, I believe they're going to win. I'm going to pick them. That's literally who I picked, because I don't think Sam Bradford holds up through the season, and I'm not going to use them later. So there's some cool strategy. Or just start with the big top dogs and say, I'm taking the clear, obvious winner here. It's a fun game. You can get in, win a ton of cash. Get into it for free, $250,000 Survivor contest. Go to FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers. That's FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers, and new users get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit on FanDuel. Come play with us at FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers.
All right, Joe Bro 3333 has the question. I haven't heard much about Baby Hands Jack Doyle. What's your opinion on him? I have him, and I'm not too confident. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Love the show. I have said it all offseason. I believe Eric Ebron is going to be the predominant pass catcher in that offense. We saw in their kind of dry run for the regular season, Eric Ebron was involved. So I still feel that way. I don't have a lot of confidence in Jack Doyle.
I have Jack Doyle still as a low-end tight end 1. I think he will be necessary for this offense. He's a good football player. He's going to be on the field. That's how you get opportunities. I know that the Colts are likely to run a lot of 2 tight end sets, but I still like Doyle as to finish the season around that 10 to 12 range for tight ends.
Yeah, it's hard to tell at this point because, at week 2 it looked like, Doyle was far more involved. He had all the snaps, was running the routes. Week 3, obviously Eric Ebron had the big game. And I think it's indicative of the fact that this is not going to be Doyle is not going to win,
right?
And Ebron is not going to win. It's going to be different guys, different weeks. It's going to make for a difficult situation unless you're playing DFS and you have an insight and a scoop onto which guy is probably going to be the guy that week. I personally am avoiding both of these guys. I don't want them in redraft.
Fair. And Eric Ebron is really hoping that defenders just don't cover him like they did on his touchdown reception.
I do agree with Andy, though. Eric Ebron is a much more talented
Yeah, he has the upside.
player.
Jack Doyle he's baby hands. I mean, he's just he can, if he gets the opportunity, he'll be good for fantasy. But Eric Ebron is the far more dynamic football or pass catcher.
Yes.
All right, let's go to a voicemail question.
How you guys doing, fantasy footballers? Name is Muhammad Ali from Cleveland, Ohio. We just finished our draft, 12-man league PPR, and we had one guy pick up Travis Kelce and Rob Gronkowski. How do you feel about that? He plans on starting one in the tight end and one in the flex. Just want to know what you guys think. Thank you. Love you guys. Bye.
I feel like he probably ruined his team, but
Yeah.
that's fine. I mean, look, when both players are this good, they're going to be fine in your flex. That's not the issue. The issue isn't how many points they're going to be able to put up playing both players. The issue is what they've lost at the running back or wide receiver position, assuming you need at least 2 and that flex. You might be fine on starters week 1 if you take that strategy, but your depth for injuries, for bye weeks, for things like that where you have to play 4 total players at least between running back and wide receiver, you're going to be hurting.
And here's the deal. The position is called the flex because it is a flexible position. You have other options. When you have wide receivers and running backs, you can play matchups. You can look at, okay, my wide receiver 3, my running back 3's got a much better matchup. I'm going to put him in the flex. When you draft 2 tight ends like this, you're playing Travis Kelce every single week. And last year, by the end of season, Travis Kelce was the tight end 2.5 point PPR with 192 points.
That's great.
That's fine.
Amazing.
That's fine. Except that puts him at wide receiver 11.
Right.
And you are, like Jason said, you have killed your actual wide receiver positions, and you have locked it in.
Every league has somebody who wants to get cute like this
because
they think everyone's going to freak out and come trade for that guy.
That, and you saw this worked, whatever it was 5 years ago when Jimmy Graham and Rob Gronkowski were outscoring the wide receiver 1 on the season. It definitely worked back then, but it hasn't been relevant since.
All right, Tony the Tooth in Minnesota has a question.
They're great.
What would be your argument to change a league from redraft to keeper? Also, what do you think the best ways to pay to keep players? So is it draft picks? Is it FAAB, etc.? Love the show. Keep up the great work. Talking about a full PPR league. What do you think?
We did this with our league of record a long time ago. It was not a keeper, and we just wanted there to be more off-season care.
Investment in your team.
And investment in your team. It's really fun to have that strategy in the year where you're actually looking at your team and there's something else to possibly play for. And then what happens is in the off season, now when it's just a redraft, there's nothing other than just conversations with your buddies. There's nothing going on. But in a keeper league, there are assets you have in that off season that you can start opening up trades with and say, hey, I like your keeper. I want more picks, and then start making transactions like that. I think it's a lot of fun. That's how I would argue for it.
Yeah, it's really an argument of fun. And as far as cost for the player, you can do all sorts of things. I like draft price. Essentially, where you drafted that player, that's where you can keep them. If you want to throw in a bonus so they fall back around, I'm okay with that as well. But that's my favorite way to pay for keepers.
Is just where you drafted them.
Yeah.
Now, in those leagues, you got a guy off of waivers.
Oh,
what do you do
Great
with
point.
it,
Thank you for bringing it up, Jason.
Because the thing where that player is your last pick, I hate it.
That is the absolute worst. The price for guys off of the waiver wire are average draft position based off of the service you use to play the game. So if you're on ESPN, if you're on NFL, wherever their ADP is, that's the round that you give up for that player.
In your opinion.
Yes.
What would you do?
Well, I was going to ask you a question, Jason. I wondered if your feelings, I know you've always felt strongly that that's a bad system. Does it change at all, though, when you play in a league where the waiver wire is FAAB and people are investing and making a choice to spend their FAAB on the waiver? Because I feel like average draft position, while I understand and I'm fine with it, I think more often than not, that's actually a penalty for that person, right? Like if you're drafting and in the 7th round you pick up Adam, or like last year, Adam Thielen, right? You've made a strategic decision. You go 10th round to Adam Thielen last year. You get him for 10th round. But then if you waiver wired a guy and you spent your FAAB and invested in that player, you're now being penalized by having to use average draft position. So I was just wondering if it's different in a league where it's not waiver priority and it's based on record with FAAB. Because if I were going to do it, I would say it could be, ADP minus 3 rounds, something like that.
Yeah, so I still am 100% against it being your last round pick, but where I do it, so I don't like ADP. I actually think that if you want to take half of your rounds and put it there, right in the middle of your draft, if you've got a 16 round and say it's an 8th rounder,
yeah, I'm cool with that too.
Then there's questions as to whether or not you're going to keep this. Alvin Kamara versus someone, or when it's I got Alvin Kamara or Odell Beckham for the 16th round, there's just no question.
But then
when you were buying
then they're
them,
in the 7th round.
But when you were sure, but that you're at least giving up something. There is a question of whether or not you want to keep them, and not every waiver pickup that's kept is Odell Beckham or Alvin Kamara. So I think it just makes it a little bit more fair. Or ADP minus a round or two.
Well, we always talk about what do you do to make the league more and more active. I think if you're in a keeper league and the ambition is to find that value on the waiver wire, you're only going to have more FAAB activity. You're only going to have more trading for those players. So I don't like penalizing it. I like rewarding it, but I understand you not wanting to say, hey, this guy gets to keep Thielen for an 11th, Kamara for free, for nothing, and then, he's got a team for 15
See,
years.
I've usually been of the mind, because this is about draft. This is about draft cost and draft capital. It's not about your moves in the season. It's a matter of, were you good at last year's draft? That's where you get rewarded from. So I am 100% behind waivers can't be kept. Like, there is no price. If someone didn't draft this player, your whole league, nobody drafted him, then nobody gets to keep him. You guys weren't smart enough.
So going with that, then, if you trade a player who you drafted, their keeper eligibility transfers with the player?
Yes, wherever they were drafted, that's their value, whether it was you that drafted them or not. Even if they're dropped to waivers and picked up, that's where they were drafted last year.
All right, the moral of the story is there are a lot of ways that you can do it.
Yeah.
And I would try to find the way that your league
sounds fun to you?
Something that they agree on that you all agree will be fun. Because there are a lot of I don't mind that either. Not letting people keep waiver wire pickups at all.
Yeah.
I don't think that's bad. Eddie Fame on Instagram. Who is the last quarterback tight end you will draft?
The last quarterback and tight end?
Yeah, quarterback or tight end. Like for me, the last tight end I would draft is Ricky Seals-Jones, Arizona Cardinals tight end. He's available pretty much in every last round. He's the last one I draft. David Njoku's in that category, although he's being drafted more often now.
I do agree the last tight end, as of now, the last one I would grab if I've waited until my very last positional pick or whatever, it will be Ricky Seals-Jones because I'm going after upside and huge plays combined with Sam Bradford, who throws to the tight end very, very frequently. I like it as the last pick. As far as the quarterback, I mean, I don't really care.
For me, the last...
Who's got a good week 1 matchup?
Yeah, the last...
Tyrod.
Sure, Tyrod Taylor...
Sorry,
Tyrod.
He said it. He introduced himself as Tyrod, so we are going with Tyrod.
Yeah, that's a great one. I would also throw Blake Bortles into that mix of you can wait until everyone has their quarterback and you'll be just fine.
Yep.
All right, Paul on Facebook has a question. Am I delusional thinking that Cooper Kupp can be a legitimate wide receiver 2 all season? I would not say that you're delusional.
No, it's certainly not.
He could
delusional.
definitely be a wide receiver 2 all season.
He was a red zone monster.
That's what it'll come down to.
And I think that stays status quo with the addition of Brandon Cooks and Sammy Watkins leaving the Los Angeles Rams. He's a large wide receiver, and they play him in the slot, which makes him a big slot wide receiver, which is fantastic for scoring touchdowns. Cooper Kupp he's one of my dark horse picks for shocking everyone and leading the league in touchdown receptions.
Yeah, I can get behind everything just said. I like Cooper Kupp a lot. He led the team in targets last year as a rookie coming into year 2, and everything out of camp about the rapport between
We are
Goff,
very phlegmy today.
Between Goff. Well, we got a cold going around the office.
It's true.
Yeah, I like Cooper
you know
Kupp
who
as a
I blame
late-round
for
pick.
that?
Yeah, Baby Josh.
Baby Josh comes in from Ohio.
Now we're
fine.
all sick.
Now everybody's coughing.
Ridiculous.
Riding on the back of a pig.
Oh, my goodness.
Baby Josh.
All right, voicemail question.
What's up, footballers? This is Steve in South Carolina. So, somebody in my league just dropped Kerryon Johnson.
Oh, yes.
And I want to know how much of my FAAB budget I spend to make sure that I get him. Waivers go through Sunday. Thanks, guys.
This is an important question that I will make Jason answer, and then I will have a follow-up for Jason that will be difficult for him to answer. So we're going to go deep dive into Kerryon here, Jason.
Okay, so the first number that comes to my head is a stupid one. And it's stupid low.
200%.
$25 is the first thing that's like
out of $100.
Yes, out of $100 budget, so 25%. That's the first thing that comes into my head where I would go, that's where I'm going to start. And this is one of those, I mean, it should go without saying, but it needs to be said. Every single league is so different. You know your league. If your league is full of a bunch of people that at the end of the year always have money and they're always trying to squeeze out the most, then a $25 bid, that could very well get it done. Or if you're in one of the leagues where several guys every year go for $75 when they see it, the guy that they think's going to pop and be the player. But philosophically, when you can get a player early in the season that could be a producer long term, like, I don't know, before the season begins, it's worth more. So, if
this is tough, Jason.
Yeah, it is.
Because there's a problem that happens.
All right, tell it to me.
If you spend a lot of FAAB on him, what if he's a bench clogger?
Yeah.
What if he's not the stash? What if he's the trash? And when do you cut bait, Mike? Let's say you spent 30 of your $100 FAAB budget. You feel pot committed to Kerryon Johnson. Week 9 rolls around, and he's been nothing.
By week 9?
Like, when do you cut bait on that once you've spent FAAB? See, it's different than spending a 10th-round draft pick. When you've invested your FAAB,
but people aren't drafting him in the 10th. I mean, he's.
Oh yeah, they are.
Yes, they are. Absolutely, they are.
Yahoo, for some reason on Yahoo,
no doubt about it.
Look, I'm Mr. Kerryon, so my tweets, my timeline, my direct messages, pretty much it's 95% Kerryon Johnson related.
Sure.
And
how do you not have a jersey already?
That's seriously
honestly a problem.
I'm going to get to pristine auction immediately. The reality, but people on Yahoo, for some reason, he's so low there that everyone gets him in the 9th, 10th round.
And even if I'm spending that low draft capital on Kerryon Johnson, he's staying on my bench probably the whole year. Probably the whole year.
You believe that?
Yes.
Oh, then that's a bad
No,
pick.
I think what Mike's saying is he's not going to cut bait on it.
Yes.
I see what you're
He's
saying.
not saying that he's
not
just
the
getting-
bench of the Detroit Lions. I'm
Gotcha.
saying he's staying on my bench because I believe in the upside that I believe he will take over.
My man.
And when he does, he's going to be one of those second-half guys that's on all of championship teams.
So you're saying he does not have a goatee?
No, he has a mustache.
He is a mustache for sure.
Here's and that's more of a.
I wanted to follow it up
go ahead.
with the FAAB conversation of I'm getting Kerryon Johnson.
Right.
I am putting down the bid that I think gets Kerryon Johnson. If that's 30%.
What if it's 50%?
If it's 50%, man, I mean that's rough. That's really rough to go into your season already having spent 50%.
I know what I would do. Honest to goodness, I would put in a $25 bid, and by the time the waivers run tomorrow morning, it would be $51 because I would keep telling myself,
you need a little more.
No chance I got to bump it up. I know, like that's for sure what would happen. $51 would be my final bid.
Wow.
It's a good follow-up to yesterday's Stash or Trash show because these are the psychological battles fantasy football commissioners face every year, which is part of it is draft picks, right? Like let's say you spend a 3rd or 4th round pick on somebody. I don't know. Let me throw somebody out there. Duke Johnson. You spend a 5th round pick on Duke Johnson because and then his role isn't what it was. But you spent the draft pick, and then how long do you wait to let that guy go? Those are the decisions. Well, we're going to try to help you make those decisions all year long.
Yeah, certainly.
That's what keep trade cut's going to be about in season.
So my final pick, I'm saying I'm going 25 to 30% of my budget because that's I believe that will get it done. and I want him stashed on my roster, just waiting for Kerryon time.
Oh, and you hope it comes.
Yeah.
And you believe in
So
the talent.
I certainly do.
You got one part rookie, one part depth chart, one part offensive line.
Yeah.
But you've got one part huge upside. And you know every year, I mean, last year, 4 rookies in the top 12. So there's always the ability for the rookie running back to emerge as a league-winning guy. You just hope you don't have to wait as long. And you hope that they, you just hope they use him.
Yes.
You hope there's not – because you don't want Joe Mixon's rookie season.
Yeah.
Because you didn't really get much
point.
You didn't get much starting value out of it, right?
Yep. Very fair.
So, all right, let's jump into some best ball.
Best Ball Bonanza, brought to you by Draft.
All right, our final best ball bonanza segment of the season or the off season, because we'll be next Friday. NFL games will have been played, and so you won't be able to best ball anymore. So this is kind of our final hurrah. This is our final farewell. You can spend you've already drafted your redraft, keeper, dynasty, all that stuff. Maybe you spend the weekend doing a few best ball drafts.
We have given so many tips through this offseason as to how to draft best ball. Look, if you haven't heard them all, go back, search Best Ball Bonanza on our YouTube channel, and you'll find all the segments.
And I'll give my number one tip for that is don't try to live stream and answer questions while participating in a basketball draft, which I think
it's ironically close to the tip we're talking about right now. The tip that I think is super important, it sounds obvious, but look, we want the Foot Clan to take these things down. The Foot Clan are in so many of these best ball leagues, and I hope the winner in every single one of these is a listener of the show. They've paid attention to all these tips. They've gotten the advice, and here's the final tip of the off season. It's to take your time or pay full attention, and that depends on whether or not you're doing a slow draft or a fast draft. You talked about look, Mike, you and I have both done these live best ball drafts while we're streaming, trying to answer questions.
It's tough for the streets.
Put on a show. It's impossible. I mean, you just make bad picks. You're not paying attention to buys. You're not doing a roster construction. You're not paying attention. You certainly are never paying attention to, okay, the teams between my pick now and my next pick. Yeah. What does their roster look like, and how does it affect what I choose to pick here and who will drop to me? All those really normal things where if you are paying attention and if this matters to you, you say, I want to win. I don't want to waste my money here. You're paying attention to those things. So my point is twofold. Let's say you're in a fast draft. If you're in a fast draft, you do not sign up to do a fast draft until you got that time. You know what I mean? You don't be like, oh, I'm in the middle of two things I want to throw. Just wait, carve out 20 minutes for yourself. Carve out a little bit of time and say, I'm not doing anything else. I'm just doing this. But if you're in a slow draft, you could take it to the limit. Okay,
right.
You get on the clock. You've got now, 6 more hours to make your pick. Set a 5-hour timer. And don't make your pick for 5 hours because news still breaks. People still get hurt. And so often in these best ball leagues, what happens is you just happen to come up on the clock right after that injury happens, and you get the steal of the draft that everyone would have picked 4 rounds earlier. Take your time in those leagues. You have a long time on the clock, and capitalize. I've used that strategy several times, and I would say the majority of the time it doesn't matter. It doesn't, no big injury happens, but there's been multiple occasions where by the time I'm coming up to the end of my clock, news has broken on someone when you're late in the draft, and this works much better when you're late in the draft because that's where those players – their ADPs would change by several rounds.
Did you say that sometimes news breaks?
Oh!
Breaking news.
We've got breaking news on another monster contract.
So much money.
Adam Schefter is reporting the Rams and Aaron Donald have finalized the deal.
Yes!
6 years, $135 million, including $87 million guaranteed.
Get paid.
Good for you, Aaron Donald. What?
Has anybody figured out that how the Rams got all that extra money?
Yeah, I hear a lot of teams who are like, we got no space in the cap, and the Rams say, what? We don't. What's wrong with you?
It's because of the benevolent king. When you are a young quarterback, you don't get paid yet, so you can pay everybody else.
Wow. I mean,
that's the truth. King Godfrey himself has bestowed his future earnings now.
That Rams defense.
I think the Rams fans will feel a little disrespected by no Super Bowl pick for them.
Honestly,
out of this group,
the Aaron Donald situation factored in. I talked about the Chargers and the Rams meeting in the Super Bowl a lot of the offseason. But then Aaron Donald doubt of, is he going to hold out? What is going on? Because
he held out last year, and then he was the defensive player of the year. That's why I drafted the Rams.
But how long was the holdout going to go? They balked. They paid him. He won. Good for you, Aaron Donald. Get paid.
Man, play for the Rams.
Yeah, they're giving out contracts just left and right.
Hey, before we let you go, remember about the FanDuel Survivor Contest. We want to make sure that all the Foot Clan get in that. Go over there, make your account, and sign up for this free Survivor Contest. It's completely free. To get into that, just go to FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers. That's FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers. You pick one team to win each week. You can't reuse them again the rest of the season. And if you're a new user to FanDuel, you're going to get a $20 bonus for free when you make your first deposit. Come play with us at FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers.
All right, that is it for today's Fantasy Footballers podcast. Thank you for subscribing, for listening, for tuning in, for supporting. Please stay with us all year long. It's going to be a very fun one starting next week.
Good luck in your drafts, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.